So when it comes to One For All, I've always wondered for the longest about what the hell happened to the Stockpile Quirks vestige. No joke, this video has kind of been in the making for almost 2 years at this point, just because I thought this would get explained when we started learning a lot more about One For All and the vestiges. But as time passed on, it's become a real mystery to me as to why this character hasn't shown up within One For All's vestige world, especially with everything we know about vestiges and quirks. In this installment of My Hero Academia Mysteries, we are going to be discussing what could have happened to the Stockpile Quirks vestige and why their vestige has not shown up at all in My Hero Academia. Now, as we know, One For All is the culmination of 2 different quirks merging into one. The first quirk being Yoichi's quirk that grants him the ability to pass down his quirk to someone else, and the second quirk being some random person's stockpile quirk that was forcefully given to Yoichi because All For One wanted to make Yoichi succumb to him, thus unknowingly creating One For All. Interestingly enough, as this quirk is passed down from generation to generation, each user of One For All has a piece of themselves that resides within the quirk, making them vestiges due to One For All also merging with their quirk factors. And as we know, when it comes to quirks, every quirk factor contains a consciousness, that being the individuality of its wielder. As of right now, there are a total of 9 users, including Deku, that have had, or in the case of Deku, currently have One For All. When Deku enters into the One For All world, he is able to interact with the past 8 users. In the One For All world, we only see that there are a total of 8 vestiges, when in reality there should be 9 vestiges already within the One For All world. That 9th vestige being the Stockpile Quirks vestige. So the question is, what happened to this vestige, and why haven't we seen them yet? Now, as we know, Stockpile's vestige is never seen or talked about at all in the series. There's absolutely no acknowledgement about them at all from the other characters, other than the fact that we know that the Stockpile quirk should have came with its own vestige, since All For One back in the Paranormal Liberation War arc stated that every quirk factor contains a consciousness, that being the individuality of its wielder, when discussing vestiges in the One For All world. Plus, the Stockpile quirk's ability to stockpile power is still active within One For All, meaning that there should be a vestige to go along with it. So far, I only have 2 theories that could explain why this quirk's vestige never shows up. The first being the weakest theory out of the 2, in that during the merging process of both quirks forming into One For All, Stockpile's vestige disappeared. This would explain why we never get to see the vestige at all in the series, but this theory heavily contradicts with what we know about vestiges, since as we know, when a vestige is destroyed or is no longer a part of the vestige world, then the quirk that the vestige belonged to will no longer be of use. This is something that we see happen in the All For One world during Star and Shigaraki's battle, where New Order was rebelling against All For One's many quirks. We see New Order destroying vestiges, resulting in Shigaraki / All For One no longer being able to use those quirks. So if that vestige was destroyed during the merging process, then that should mean that the ability to stockpile power is also gone within One For All, which we know isn't the case unless it somehow gets retconned that a quirk's ability can still be used without the vestige. The second theory for why this vestige has been absent is that the vestige has no interest in this fight against All For One, so it just resides in a different part of the One For All world alone. This to me would make the most sense, since it would explain why we never see the vestige at all in the series, as well as the stockpile quirk still being of use inside One For All, and why none of the other vestiges even acknowledge the presence of this vestige. Now, these 2 theories are all just based under speculation on what could be going on in world with Stockpile's vestige, since there is no real evidence on what happened to their vestige. But these theories aren't the only explanation for what could have happened. Outside of the world of My Hero Academia, Horikoshi could have simply forgotten about this character just because in reality they were so unimportant in the grand scheme of things that it just simply slipped his mind. Hey, nobody's perfect, so this would be a reasonable explanation as long as Horikoshi does end up acknowledging the vestige in the future. Now, if this vestige did have some importance in the story, I could see the stockpile vestige being the reason why Yoichi ended up finding out how to pass down his quirk. Remember, it still hasn't been explained how Yoichi ended up passing on his quirk to the second user, since him and no one else knew that he could. Maybe the stockpile vestige living within Yoichi reached out to him in a dream and told him that he had a quirk of his own that was very similar to All For One's, which the reason why this vestige would know this is because of the fact that they reside within Yoichi's quirk factor, and notice that there was a whole other quirk chilling in there with them. This to me would be a cool way to tie everything together when it comes to One For All's missing vestige. Plus, this would make sense because All For One back in the day didn't know why he was able to see the vestiges of the people he had stolen their quirks from in his dreams, and only got an answer for it years later. And as we know, Yoichi as a vestige got confirmation on how vestiges work from All Might's vestiges shared knowledge with the still alive All Might, as well as All For One confirming things in the vestige world. So back then, Yoichi could have had a similar experience with the stockpile vestige talking to him through a dream, and was really confused when he woke up on why he was able to have such a detailed dream like that. Similar to how All For One was confused on how his vestiges were talking to him, and how Deku was confused on how he was able to interact with Yoichi through his dream too. This to me would make sense since back in the day, not a lot of stuff was known about quirks, so Yoichi having this detailed dream with this vestige telling him about his quirk could be the reason on how he was able to pass down his quirk, even though he still didn't know what the hell was going on. I know this was a short video, but there really wasn't much to go off of when it comes to the topic of what happened to the stockpile quirks vestige in the One For All world. So this video is just purely us speculating on what could have happened, but hey, that's how a My Hero Academia Mysteries video goes. We take a topic that isn't talked about a lot or we don't know much about, we speculate on it, and hopefully one day we get the answers to it. And I still find this to be a very interesting topic that I don't see being talked about all that much in the community, and I do hope for lore reasons that we do end up finding out what happened to this stockpile quirks vestige. Let me know in the comment section below your theories and reasoning behind why we haven't seen the stockpile quirks vestige in the One For All world yet. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on everything I had to say. Did you agree with either of my theories and speculation? Let me know everything in the comments section below. Like always, thank you all for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button below, as well as share this video with your friends. It greatly helps the channel out a ton. And if you are new to the channel and you like My Hero Academia content, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, as well as hit that notification bell to join the Kitoroki Hero Academia to become my hero. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.